Okay. It's funny because when I look at myself and I'm wearing a white hat, um, I look a lot like my dad. Anyways, no particular reason. Someone says in the mirror image, because when I look at my screen, the camera, for some reason, it always puts it in mirror, and they think of the name Haton, who is some channeled entity. I'm not sure if Haton is a Pleiadian. Uh, I don't know too much about Haton, but there's various other ones that get channeled in. Bashar is apparently an SSNE. Apparently, I've been told that I have a relative that is an SSNE. I'm not sure if it was a part of me. I don't understand these things, you know. Fractals of yourself, oversouls, and monads. I don't understand. Oversoul, I do if it's in relation to the Jane Roberts books. She channeled a being called Seth and Seth 2, and she did the book, The Education of Oversoul 7. I read it a long time ago. It was an interesting book. It took me a while to get through it. I think I put it down after a while because I didn't really understand it. It didn't really resonate with me. But I think at some point I got bored and I went looking through my books and oh, I started this book and then I started it again. I'm not sure if I actually finished the book though. I got the good gist of it though. So from that book, an oversoul is another human who's in a another dimension, and their job is to help you. The Oversoul has got a number of humans in different time periods who they're supposed to help. How are they supposed to help? They're supposed to look in on you, see what's going on, and help you by giving you intuitions and things like that. How do they do it? I don't know. They just do it. And it's mostly because that's what their training ground is. So in this Sethian kind of, it's not Seth from the Bible, by the way. This Seth is a different Seth, and it's basically, you know, you start off as a human here on Earth, and then you rise in consciousness, or you're in some kind of a school, and then your next job is you become the oversoul for somebody else, and it's basically you're supposed to help others. And then the oversoul has got a supervisor who they report to. And in this particular story, the oversoul was kind of slacking with some of the people that they're supposed to be helping because they didn't like some of the people they were supposed to be helping. And the supervisor said, "It's not your job to say I don't like this particular person and not help them. It's your job to help them all when they need help." And apparently, keep tabs on them. So if you're still a human that thinks somehow, I need so much privacy, I need incredible amounts of privacy. I got to hide all my safety deposit numbers, and I got to have all these passwords on all my computers and smartphones, and passwords for this, that, and the next thing. And I got to have retinal scans and things so that other people can't see what's going on with me. I don't know how many of you are like that are watching this video, but there seems to be quite a lot of humans that are very concerned about spying by things like the NSA. WikiLeaks says that they do. And the truth is, there are many beings in other realms who can see what's going on and actively do watch what's going on here. Corey Good, the commentator on YouTube, says that there's a group called the Anchar that like to watch us as if we're a TV show. Anne Rice had a group called the Brevena. They were a bird-like race of very nasty beings, and apparently they like to spy on humans. And in Stephen King's books, quite often there's hidden cameras on various alternate versions of planet Earth. And I guess the cameras are made either by Northwest Positronics or their allied company, the Sombra Corporation. we use Sombra technology here. There's sometimes been talk about getting an upgrade to TET, but Sombra is basically the corporation of the demonic. I never put in Sombra Corporation, giving them a plug because I don't like their technology. Anyway, read The Dark Tower if you want more information. There's a whole pile of books in there. It's very entertaining. Is it useful? It's stuff for your monkey mind. And then the demonics will use what you've read against you. Instead of them pursuing meditation, they will use everything that you've ever either done, read, or watched in order to keep themselves busy so they're not pursuing a path of expanding their consciousness and busying you with inane questions and repetitive bore stories. Okay, what's going on with the collective? The collective of the planet Earth, the calibrated level of consciousness, the last I heard was in the low 200s before Dr. David R. Hawkins passed away. So I don't know, under 210. But between 200 and 210 is where the collective was last time Dr. Hawkins calibrated it. And someone wants to say, did it go down after it went up? I don't know what it's at now. I don't muscle test, and I'm not given to give you any guesses. If you want to try and guess what it is, why would you guess? Just learn muscle testing. There's videos on the internet of how to do muscle testing, and some videos have actually done it here, but I just want to give you more of an update on what's going on with the collective of not only the humans, but the other types of beings that are related to Gaia. So, I mean, there's other realms that are related to Gaia, fairy, for example. The demons want to say, I demand that you talk about the lower astral. Is it part of Gaia? No, it's not part of Gaia, but it predates on Gaia and beings that are on Gaia. Where's the lower astral? I'm not given to really figure it out right now. What is going on with Earth Ascension? There are a lot of people who are talking about it, expanding their consciousness. There are a lot of people who are totally oblivious to any way of spiritual living because they don't even believe it's real. Sure, they've heard of churches and things like this, and that's their idea of expanded consciousness. Going to church, picking up a Bible, and reading passages from the Bible. Past lifetimes, these kind of people might have been church people, and it's in their memories, conscious or not, that going to church is a bore story and it doesn't get you very far. So they're not interested, and it's a terrible shame because, as I said in a previous lecture, all the things that you get in 12 years of public school for free, they don't teach meditation. If they do, it's not commonly talked about it. Strangely, when I asked one of my young relatives what meditation was, she immediately did one of those meditation things with her two fingers. So she knew. I don't know where she knows it from. Maybe she got it from her school. All I know is back in my day, they never taught meditation, and the whole word meditation wasn't spoken even once. And that means everyone of my generation and older don't know anything about meditation unless they've had, I don't know, it's not even on the TV shows. They don't talk about meditation. In church, when I was a boy, they talked about meditation, silent meditation at the end of the church service while the organ played the postlude. What did that mean? Let's go. Let's go. My bum hurts because I've been sitting on a wooden seat for too long. I'm antsy. I need to get some air. It's almost lunchtime. Let's go, let's go. No one did silent meditation, and no one gave you any training on exactly what was meditation. What else? So, what else is going on with the human collective? There's all kinds of there's all kinds of people who are working on themselves, mostly because when they've got into a real jam and they've had to seek counseling, some of the counselors have given them some advice about, doing this or doing that. What else? Some people, I don't know. I think that's what happens. I think people, either through relationship difficulties or problems on the job, have sort of been given some kind of counseling. And through the counseling, they've got information about ways they can change to become better people. I think the problem is a lot of the people, just like me, when I first heard about meditation, went to a seminar and found it um, uninspiring. And, other things were more fun, like we're going to go out tonight, we're going to go dancing, we're going to have a lot of beer, and maybe we'll go out and sing a few songs at karaoke. And then later on, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, it's only human nature. Now, what else? So, is there actually an Earth ascension? Well, yes. I'm just quoting Dr. Hawkins, Dr. David R. Hawkins, and he said in 1987, in conjunction with some kind of astrological alignment, a harmonic concordance or convergence, I can't remember what it was. 1987, for the first time ever, the total consciousness of the collective humans went above 200. And I think it went to like 203. So before 1987, the planet as a whole was a hell world. In other words, the collective consciousness of all the humans wasn't even over 200. 200 is not very high, just so you know. It's like the breaking point where you go from highly negative to going the other direction. Doesn't mean that there weren't people in places that weren't positively oriented. It's just the collective as a whole was a hell world. So if you're born before 1987, maybe the reason you had such a hellish life is because you were born into hell. Dr. Hawkins said that this planet is, Sippy Cup keeps saying probationary planet, and I think he's kind of right. A probationary planet, because you're here and you have all kinds of opportunity. Dr. Hawkins always said the reason that Earth is so diverse is because it gives you an incredible amount of opportunity to grow. And he also said this is a purgatorial realm. Now, I'm not Catholic and I really don't know much about purgatory, but apparently it's a place you have to go to prepare yourself, to purify yourself before you can get into heaven. So, what are you doing here on probation to purify yourself, to get yourself fit for heaven? Oh, I go to church on Sundays. The rest of the week, well, I'm a hard-nosed businessman. I'm a hard-nosed businessman, and I do good by my company. I'm the top salesperson for 3 years in a row, and I never leave any money on the table. In other words, if I figure I can sell one more thing at inflated prices to the client, I'm going to do it. And I get applauded at the sales meetings, and they usually give me lots of perks because I'm a top salesperson. What's that got to do with church? churches on Sunday morning. The rest of the week, I'm a hard-nosed businessman. You're on probation, Mr. Salesperson, and your probation officer, an angel, is probably going to tell you, if you're not paying attention now, they're probably giving you signs. They're saying, well, the angels in this book I've got now say they don't interfere with your life unless you call on them. You got no signs that there is angels or a heavenly world. It's because you haven't asked, and they won't force themselves on you. So what you have to do is be very kind and polite. Very kind and polite. In other words, don't be snarky and say, "Angel, show yourself to me," after 3 beers or something. No. You have to have um, an honest intention that you really want some help and advice from angelics. They know what the average humans are like. You know, I know what average humans are like, and I can tell when people are being snarky and they're not being serious. If you really want seriousness, what usually happens to people is when they get into major health crises. People get into major health crises, and that's when they look at the doctor, and the doctor says, your chances aren't very good, Mrs. Smith. And Mrs. Smith thinks, well, there's like chiropractors, naturopaths, the vitamin store. Aunt Lucy's got a Ouija board. I could go to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, or Johns Hopkins, like the best doctors in the planet. They always charge a fortune. And then they think, well, I guess I could, call a pastor and see if a pastor will talk to me. Or maybe some people say, I'm not going down that road. That's just plain stupidity. But the whole point of the matter is, what have you got to lose? But if you're snarky, don't expect an angel to come and help you if you're being Mr. Snarky, because you're not going to listen to whatever the angel's got to tell you. Or maybe you'll get a good piece of synchronistic advice from another human. I don't know who that might be. Maybe one of your friends will tell you something. Somebody who comes to visit you when you're sick. Or maybe you'll just pick up a magazine and there'll be some interesting, not so much about the new drug that's going to cure you, but it might be something about, why don't you try being nice? At least be nice to your nurse and to the person who comes and serves you food. Be nice to the janitor. I know you're not feeling well, but do your best. Keep a lid on your nasty nature. It might be really hard at that point in time when you're in pain. The collective consciousness of humanity. Let's see. Well, is there Earth ascension going on? Yes. Yes, there is. And the point that James Redfield wanted to make, or was it Redfield? It might have been somebody else. There was another book called The Tipping Point. But I think Redfield touched on it, that there is, Donald Trump called it the Great Awakening. It's not a Trumpian thing. The Great Awakening is there's nothing to do with Donald Trump. The Great Awakening is the spiritual awakening. And that's just what you might call it. But somebody who's not religious might say, I don't want to be called spiritual. Is it raising your consciousness? Did they think that's religious? I don't. The words sometimes trigger people because they had bad experiences with anything to do with religion. But maybe you have had heart trouble, and your heart specialist also offers a mindfulness meditation class. However, you get it, you get it. I mean, the point is not to go to church to keep reading passages out of the Bible that you don't know what the hell they mean. They're written in Old English and, a bunch of archaic words and things, archaic names. You don't know what it is. But if you get the mindful meditation part of it and you start practicing that, that's going to help raise your consciousness more than anything else. I was saying that there's a number of people who have got this bit through work, for example, and they start doing it and they drop it. Just like me when I first heard about it. And it's only when you start seeing more and more books that start coming your way that keep mentioning the same thing. Don Juan Matus and Carlos Castaneda's books, Inner Silence, and he kept making a fool out of Carlos Castaneda, who thought he was a great intelligentsia from academia. And Don Juan Matus kept looking at him saying, "You're such a stupid shit. You don't know nothing. You got to have inner silence." Anyway, the cosmic characters around me have decided to go into inner silence, and they have come an enormous way. And one of them, it's not, no one knows, is also telling me that they still like to play little bits of tricks. Not dirty tricks, they're saying, but they do too much of it and it's dirty. Most of the time, the cosmic characters, the ones that have been around for a long time, are incredibly wise beings. And the ones that come new, they're not always bad. Some of them, they don't say too much, but they're around once in a while. And the different characters that I do, I never know who's going to come. But as far as Earth Ascension, is it going on? Yes. Now, what's the speed of it? Is the speed of the ascension going to bring us something interesting as we get to a tipping point of a mass awakening or a minor awakening? Yes. When's that going to happen? Some commentators have said maybe in 25 years. Some commentators said it was going to be 2012. Should you wait around to see some great breakthrough? No. Your job, as Krishna would say, Krishna said your job is to be fully involved with the process of ascension here on planet Earth. In other words, you can't sit on an island drinking Mai Tais and having your feet rubbed with coconut oil. Sure, that feels good. Your job is to be someone who is spreading the word. And a lot of times you can only do the 10% solution. In other words, you got to listen to 90% of the bullshit of the people around you who are not awake in order to drop in a few little hints about what you can do to meditate or read a self help book that you might have read before, some wise advice that you can give them. It's a pain in the ass because they're incredibly boring. They tell the same stories over and over and over again. So you can slip in a little bit of wisdom and see, sometime later whether they need to hear the same thing because it just didn't seem to take. But that's your job. Your job while you're here during Earth Ascension is to, some people say it's not your job to help wake up other people. When the timing is right, they'll just wake up on their own. Yes. says my finger. My finger is basically something I help to rely on to get, I don't know. Your job, says Krishna, is to pretend that you are making a difference in everyone's life around you by try not to be too preachy. Because if you're preachy all the time, they're going to tune you out. So, act like you're interested in all the things they're interested in so that you can have a little teaching moment once in a blue moon. Is it going to make a difference for them? Of course it is. Are they going to wake up on their own? I don't know if they get sick. Or their partner, if anyone gets married anymore, their marriage partner leaves them, or someone dies, something horrible happens. Usually it's like something bad has to happen before people will start moving their consciousness. Is that true? Some people just like to learn and they just sort of go, wow, it's just like, just makes sense. It's just advancing your learning more and more. Other people just seem to have ossified thinking. Ossified bones are what you get after you're a toddler. You get very soft bones when you're a young person, mostly cartilage, and then you get more and more calcium in your bones. They harden up. Calcified thinking is someone who their mind is unable to get new information. Ossified thinking, these people often appear to be dementia or pre-dementia. Is it related? No. Dementia is disease. Ossified thinking is not a diseased mind. It's not like the brain is disabled like it is with, diseased, but it is, I want to say, belief structures, a lot of that kind of stuff. And it's kind of attitude. It's an attitude, well, I know it all. I'm a know-it-all. Don't be a know-it-all. Remember, Zen mind is beginner's mind, which means you have to throw away all the information you had so that you can learn something new without contaminating it with all the previous knowledge that you've got. Thanks for watching. I'm Harry Weaver.